Hello, sleepy soul. The night is quiet, the world is asleep, and something is waiting in the dark. Before we begin, subscribe to the channel and write your country and current time in the comments. Now listen carefully. Rain makes every city look like it is trying to forget itself. That was what I thought the first night I moved into the apartment on Mercer Street. 5th floor. No elevator. Radiators that hissed like tired animals. A kitchen window facing a brick wall. Below, the alley collected rainwater, cigarette ends, and the blue pulse of a broken neon sign from the cafe downstairs. I had left Daniel 3 months earlier. Left is a clean word. The truth was uglier. I escaped. He never hit me. People always ask that first, as if damage needs bruises to become real. Daniel preferred softer tools. Silence, corrections, little jokes at dinner, password checks, location sharing, questions that sounded like care until they became locks. When I moved, I changed everything. My number, my email, my hair, my name online. Work was work. I don't dress it up. I saw clients sometimes. Quiet men, lonely men, men who wanted to be listened to more than touched. I kept rules. Separate phone, separate apartment, no real names, no repeats unless I chose them. Then I met Elias. His message came through an app at 1:13 a.m., while rain tapped the window and my fridge hummed too loudly in the dark. No crude opening, no demand, just, you look like someone who notices weather. I stared at the screen longer than I should have. His profile photo showed half his face in cafe light. Early 30s. Dark coat, calm eyes, too polished maybe, but loneliness makes you generous with red flags. We met 2 nights later at a hotel bar where soft jazz played under the sound of ice in glasses. He stood when I arrived. Not many did that. You're colder than you expected to be, he said. I smiled because it sounded almost normal. It's raining. No, he said gently. I mean since the move. I remember the saxophone bending through the room, the bartender wiping the same glass again and again. I should have left. Instead, I laughed. I guess everyone is cold after moving. I suppose, he said. He watched me the way people watch old films. Like he already knew the ending but wanted to see my face when I reached it. That night, nothing happened that I could report. That was the problem. He was kind, attentive, paid in advance. Asked before touching my hand, listened when I spoke. When I mentioned I hated lilies, he said, because of the hospital smell. I had not said that, but my mother had died in a room full of lilies. I told myself I must have mentioned it. Maybe I was overthinking. I wanted to believe it. A week later, he booked again. Same hotel, same rain, same soft jazz. This time, he brought me coffee from the cafe below my apartment. Black, 1 sugar. My order. Lucky guess, he said when I stared. I told myself it made sense. People guess coffee. People notice things. Maybe I had posted a cup once. Maybe some old account still existed somewhere, leaking small pieces of me into the world. After he left, my phone buzzed. A voice note from an unknown number. 3 seconds. Breathing. Then my own voice whispered, I'm almost home. I dropped the phone on the bed. That was something I used to send Daniel when he demanded proof. I deleted it, then recovered it, then played it 14 times with the heater clicking in the wall and sirens moving far away through the wet streets. It was my voice, but I had not recorded it. The next morning, I checked everything. Passwords, app permissions, cloud backups, login history. 2 strange devices had accessed an old email account I had forgotten existed. One from my city, one from a location marked only as unknown. I changed the password. Then, because fear is embarrassing when you have survived worse, I went downstairs for coffee. The cafe was warm and fogged at the windows. Rain blurred the street into silver lines. A woman in a red scarf stirred tea near the door. On the wall behind the counter were old neighborhood photographs. Black and white streets, men in hats, women carrying umbrellas, a trolley from decades ago. And there he was, Elias, standing in the background of a photograph dated 1978. Same cheekbones, same dark coat, same half smile. My body went hollow. The barista saw me staring. "Cool, right?" she said. "Owner collects local history." I pointed at the man. "Do you know who that is?" She leaned in. "No idea. Just some guy. Some guy. In a photograph older than both of us." I took a picture and left without my coffee. Upstairs, the apartment was silent except for the refrigerator and rain tapping the fire escape. I opened the shoebox I kept under my bed. Family photos. My mother on a beach in 1994. My father before he disappeared. Birthday parties. Christmas tables. Hospital Polaroids I never looked at. I don't know what made me search. Maybe instinct. Maybe the part of me Daniel had trained to look for proof before trusting my own fear. I found Elias in the third photo. Not in front. Not obvious. In the reflection of a sliding glass door behind my mother, standing in our old backyard. He was smiling. My hands began to shake. Then I found him again. At my 10th birthday party, blurred near the hallway. At my school play, seated behind my father. Outside the hospital where my mother died. Always distant. Always watching. But the dates were wrong. The clothes changed around him. The world aged. He did not. For one terrible minute, my mind reached for ghosts. Then my laptop chimed. New email. No subject. Just one attachment. A photograph of me sitting on my apartment floor, surrounded by old pictures. Taken from outside my window. 5th floor. I screamed so sharply the radiator knocked. The email address was mine. My old name. The name Daniel used when he was angry. I called the police. The first officer was polite in the way tired people are polite. He took notes. Asked about ex-partners. Work. Clients. Enemies. I gave him Elias's profile. By morning, the profile was gone. The app said no such account existed. The hotel had no booking under his name. The payment had come through a prepaid card. The phone number was dead. Could be someone you know, the officer said. That sentence stayed with me. Someone you know. I stopped taking clients. I covered my windows with taped-up trash bags. Slept with the kitchen light on. The city outside turned into sound without shape. Tires through water, distant music, footsteps in the hallway, pipes clanking awake at dawn. Then the gift started. A book I had loved at 15, placed outside my door. A cassette tape of a song my mother used to play while cleaning. A scarf identical to one I lost years ago. Each came with a note. Not threatening. Worse. Tender. Asterisk, you keep losing parts of yourself. I keep them safe. Asterisk. I threw everything away. The next night, the same items appeared on my kitchen table. No broken lock. No open window. Just the apartment breathing around me. I called the officer again. This time he sent a detective. Detective Mara Voss had gray eyes and no softness in her voice, which made me trust her. She looked at the photos for a long time. Not supernatural, she said. I almost laughed. That's reassuring. No, it means someone worked very hard. She explained it slowly. Old photos could be altered. Reflections edited. Prints aged artificially. Metadata changed. AI tools could reconstruct voices from old clips. Social media could map routines. Data brokers sold addresses. Breached accounts exposed private archives. A person with enough obsession could build a version of your life from scraps. A person with enough patience could make you doubt reality. Who benefits from making you feel watched across time? She asked. I thought of Daniel. But Daniel was lazy with cruelty. He wanted control, not mythology. Then Mara asked, do you know anyone who repairs photographs? The room tilted. My father. Before he vanished from our lives, he restored old photographs for museums and families. After my mother died, people came to our house with boxes of damaged memories. I remembered one assistant, a quiet young man who smelled like darkroom chemicals and peppermint gum. He used to bring me little paper cranes. His name was not Elias. It was Adrian Vale. Mara found him in 2 days. Not because he was careless, because obsessive people repeat themselves. Adrian had used fake profiles for years. Not just with me, other women, other cities, women after divorce, women estranged from families, women who worked alone, moved alone, survived alone. He collected loneliness like evidence. Police found storage units rented under false names. Inside were boxes, hard drives, printed messages, voice samples, old family photos bought online, deepfake software, burner phones, hotel key cards, labeled folders. Mine had my birth name on it. Inside were copies of my childhood photographs, some stolen from my father's archive before he died, some taken from my mother's old email. Adrian had inserted himself into them over years, printing them, aging them, waiting for me to become exactly vulnerable enough. The final file on his laptop was titled, Becoming Real. When they arrested him, he was sitting in the cafe below my apartment, rain sliding down the window beside him, soft jazz playing overhead. He did not run. Mara let me watch from across the street, behind the glass of an unmarked car. Adrian turned as they cuffed him. For 1 second, his eyes found mine through the rain and neon. He smiled, not proudly, intimately, like we shared something, like he had built a private room inside my life and still believed he belonged there. Later, I received one final voice note from a scheduled account the police had not found in time. My own voice again, soft, tired. I wanted to believe it. Then his voice, calm and close. I know. I moved again. Different city. Higher floor. Better locks. No cafe downstairs. No neon sign. No men who speak like they know the weather inside me. Sometimes at night, the refrigerator hums and I freeze. Sometimes rain taps the window and I check the glass for reflections. Healing is not a clean door closing. It is learning which sounds belong to the present, which memories are yours, which names still feel safe in your mouth. People think privacy is about secrets. It isn't. Privacy is the border around the self, the last fence, the place where your thoughts can undress without being watched. Adrian never wanted my body. Not really. He wanted authorship. He wanted to edit himself into my pain until I could not tell memory from manipulation. Until every photograph, every song, every quiet habit became evidence of him. That is the deepest kind of stalking. Not being followed, being rewritten. And sometimes I still take out the old photographs. The real ones now. Cleaned by police labs. Restored without him. My mother on the beach. My father squinting in sunlight. Me at 10 years old, laughing at something outside the frame. I look into the empty spaces behind us. The hallway, the glass, the shadows near the door, and I remind myself, absence can be holy. Not every empty place is waiting to be filled. Some empty places mean you are finally alone, and finally safe. Story 2. The rain started just after midnight. Thin, relentless. It painted the city in reflections. Neon signs trembled across wet pavement. Taxi headlights stretched into long ribbons of white and gold. Somewhere nearby, soft jazz drifted from a basement bar. I watched it all from the window of a 24-hour cafe. My phone sat beside a half-finished coffee. Buzzing. Silent. Buzzing again. 3 months earlier, I had left a relationship that took 7 years to destroy me. No bruises. Nothing anyone could photograph. Just slow erosion. The kind that convinces you your memories are wrong, your feelings are irrational, your instincts are defective. I was rebuilding, or pretending to. The phone buzzed again. Unknown number. One message. Final booking. Double your rate. Arrive before sunrise, asterisk asterisk. I almost ignored it. Then another message appeared. The address is attached. Transportation provided, asterisk asterisk. A mansion outside the city. Old money. Private. The kind of booking people talked about carefully. I stared at the rain. My rent was due. I told myself it made sense. I accepted. The car arrived at 2:11 a.m. Black sedan. Tinted windows. No conversation. The driver never looked at me. The city disappeared behind fog and empty highways. Streetlights became sparse, then vanished entirely. By the time we reached the estate, the sky was still pitch black. The mansion emerged from the darkness like a photograph developing in slow motion. Huge, silent, every window glowing. Waiting. I stepped out, cold air wrapped around me. The front door opened before I could knock. An older woman stood there. Perfect posture, perfect smile. "We've been expecting you." Something about the sentence unsettled me, but I followed her inside. The first thing I noticed was the clocks. Every clock, every hallway clock, every antique clock, every wristwatch displayed in glass cases. Stopped. 3:07 a.m. Exactly. The second thing I noticed was the silence. Not true silence. The mansion breathed. Floorboards settling. Distant ventilation. A refrigerator humming somewhere deep inside the house. The sounds felt amplified, like the building was listening. The woman guided me through endless corridors. Family portraits watched from the walls. Then she opened a door. "Mr. Ashcroft is waiting." She left. The door clicked shut behind me. A man stood near the fireplace. Mid-40s. Expensive suit. Calm eyes. The kind of face people trusted immediately. He smiled. Not too much. Just enough. "Thank you for coming." His voice was warm, measured, comforting. For the first 10 minutes, everything felt normal. We talked. He asked about the city, about music, books, coffee, small things. Then he mentioned my favorite song. The one I never told clients about. The one I listened to during sleepless nights after my breakup. I froze. He noticed. "Something wrong? How do you know that song?" He smiled faintly. "Lucky guess." I wanted to believe it. An hour later he mentioned a cafe. A specific table near the back window. The table where I always sat. Alone. The place wasn't on social media. I never posted about it. My stomach tightened. "You've been there?" "No." "Then how do you know?" He tilted his head. "You'd be surprised how much people reveal." Maybe I was overthinking. Maybe. But something had changed. The room felt smaller. At 2:53 a.m., my phone vibrated. No signal. Yet somehow a message appeared. Unknown sender. One image. A photograph. Me. Walking home 2 weeks earlier. Taken from across the street. My chest tightened. I looked up. Ashcroft was watching me. Calmly. "What is this?" He glanced at the screen. "Oh, just that." "Oh." As if he'd expected it. I stood. "I think I'm leaving." His expression softened. Not angry. Almost sympathetic. "You always leave at this point." The room went cold. "What?" The others did too. My pulse accelerated. The others? He walked toward a bookshelf, removed a photo album, placed it on the table. Inside were women. Dozens. Different years. Different faces. All standing somewhere inside the mansion. All photographed at exactly 3:07 a.m. The date stretched back 20 years. 20 years. My hands shook. "What is this?" "A tradition." His smile returned. Small. Controlled. Terrifying. I left the room. Fast. The hallway seemed longer now. Dark. Endless. My footsteps echoed. Somewhere upstairs, another floorboard creaked. Then another. Then another. As if someone was following me. I turned. Nobody. My phone buzzed again. A voice note. I pressed play. My own voice emerged from the speaker. Perfect. Identical. Except I had never recorded it. "I'll stay until sunrise." The words echoed through the corridor. AI generated. Voice cloned. A chill crawled through me. I found a study. Locked. But not completely. Inside were computers. Monitors. Hard drives. Rows of burner phones. Folders. Names. Photos. Schedules. Social media archives. Private emails. Metadata. Years of surveillance. Not just me. Dozens of women. Every detail cataloged. Every routine mapped. Every weakness documented. a long-term obsession disguised as intimacy. Then I found the article, 20 years old, yellowed newspaper clipping. Local heir found dead in mansion fire. Jonathan Ashcroft, dead at age 46. 20 years ago, at 3:07 a.m. I stared at the photograph. The man in the article was identical to my client. Not similar, identical. Then I saw another file. DNA reports, plastic surgery consultations, identity documents. The truth unfolded slowly, painfully. The man downstairs wasn't Jonathan Ashcroft. He was his son, a boy who had witnessed the death, a boy who spent 20 years rebuilding his father, studying recordings, voice patterns, mannerisms, creating a replica. Every year he selected a woman. Every year he recreated the final evening. Not because he believed in ghosts, because he couldn't let one go. The study door closed behind me. Quietly, I turned. He stood there, watching. No smile now, only exhaustion. You weren't supposed to see all that. Rain hammered the windows. Harder now. The house seemed to vibrate. You stalked these women. I learned them. You tracked them. I understood them. His voice remained calm. That made it worse. You don't understand, he said. People tell you who they are. Their searches, their purchases, their playlists, their deleted posts. He stepped closer. Privacy is a myth. I backed away. You need help. I had help. He gestured toward the files. Psychologists, consultants, data brokers, security firms. The scale of it hit me. Years, money, infrastructure, an entire system built around obsession. My phone vibrated. One bar of signal. Just one. Enough. I sent a location pin to emergency services. No message. No explanation. Just coordinates. Then I slipped the phone into my pocket. He never noticed. He was too busy talking, too busy performing, too busy becoming his father. By 4:21 a.m., police vehicles were moving toward the estate. I didn't know that yet. I only knew I needed time. So I listened. And he talked. About grief, control, memory, how preserving people felt safer than losing them. The more he spoke, the more frightening he became. Not because he sounded insane, because he sounded reasonable, articulate, thoughtful, human. That's what terrified me. Monsters rarely introduce themselves as monsters. The sirens arrived just before dawn. Faint, distant, then closer. His expression changed immediately. The performance cracked. For the first time, I saw panic. Real panic. He looked toward the windows, toward the approaching lights. Then back at me. You called them. I said nothing. The front doors exploded with noise. Commands. Footsteps. Movement. The spell shattered. Everything happened quickly after that. Police. Search warrants. Evidence. Hard drives. Victim statements. Years of collected data. The mansion became a crime scene before sunrise touched the windows. Months later, I still hear certain sounds differently. Late-night phone vibrations. Footsteps behind me. The hum of appliances in empty rooms. Rain against glass. Sometimes I wake up convinced someone knows where I am, what song I'm listening to, what memory I'm revisiting, what fear I'm trying to bury. Most of the time, nobody does. Most of the time. But that night changed something. Not because I nearly became another victim, because I learned how little separates intimacy from surveillance, how easily attention can disguise itself as care, how obsession can wear the face of understanding. Trust, I realized, isn't about who knows the most about you. It's about who respects the parts they don't. And in a world where every click leaves a shadow, every search leaves a fingerprint, and every loneliness leaves a door slightly open, the most dangerous people aren't the ones hiding in darkness. They're the ones who learn your reflection so well that, for a moment, you mistake it for your own. Story 3. Rain tapped the window in uneven rhythms. Neon spilled through the glass, streaking the room in cold pink and blue. I watched it drip down the edges of the pane, tracing patterns like the past I couldn't escape. My suitcase sat open on the floor. I hadn't unpacked. Again, I was new to this city, new to this life, and still raw from everything I'd left behind. Divorce papers in one hand, memories of him in the other. I'd convinced myself I needed a fresh start. Maybe I did, but the loneliness followed me. It waited in hotel lobbies, in cafes at 2 a.m., in the hum of the refrigerator that never seemed to turn off. I was walking home under the rain when I first noticed it. The hotel on the corner, cheap, slightly crooked, neon letters buzzing faintly, the Albion. People didn't usually stay long. Rumors said the place had a room 404. Guests reported hearing screams, arguments, things that didn't belong. But the staff insisted there was no such room. I laughed it off the first time. I needed work, and hotels like this had their perks. Discretion. Shadows. By the third night, I found myself there again. I was watching the neon flicker in puddles on the street, trying not to think about the last client who hadn't called back, the last relationship that had left me hollow. The bell above the door jingled as I entered, and the smell hit me. Damp carpet, bleach, the faint tang of cigarettes. A man behind the desk looked up. Youngish, smart eyes calm. He smiled just enough to seem warm. "Evening," he said, voice low, attentive. "Room for the night," I said, shrugging off my coat. He paused, glanced at a clipboard, then leaned closer. "I can get you a corner room. Quiet. Quiet." That word mattered more than warmth, more than comfort. I nodded. On the third night, the screams started. Or at least, I thought they did. From somewhere deep inside the building, muffled, desperate. I froze. The man at the desk never seemed to hear them. Guests whispered about room 404, about doors that led nowhere, staircases that disappeared into walls. I thought it was just another urban legend. Until I found the staircase. I was exploring, running errands for a client who insisted on meeting in the city late. I took the long hallway by mistake, and there it was, a narrow, hidden set of steps behind a fire door. They smelled of damp wood, dust, and something faintly metallic. The railing was cold under my hand. I hesitated. I climbed. The door at the top was old, peeling, the number 400 for barely visible. My hand trembled. I thought about leaving, about turning back, but curiosity and something darker, a need to know, pushed me forward. Inside, the air was different, warmer, heavier. The faint scent of coffee and vanilla, old perfume, lingering. The lighting was dim, fluorescent buzzing low like a heartbeat. And then I saw them. People, sitting in chairs, lounging on couches, standing near the walls. They didn't notice me at first. They looked out of place. Their clothes, their hairstyles, the way they moved. Not modern. Not quite old either. Timeless. A man approached. Mid-30s, calm, eyes intelligent, reading me as if he'd known me for years. "You're finally here," he said, voice like velvet over steel. "I've been waiting." I swallowed. "Who are you?" He smiled faintly. "You don't remember them?" I shook my head. "They're your predecessors," he said. Each one who came here. They're all here now. Room 404 doesn't exist in your time." I blinked. My heart skipped. Well, what does that mean? "You will understand." And then it clicked slowly. Each face I saw was someone missing. Disappeared. Vanished from the city, the world, decades apart. Their voices, memories, fears, they were alive here. But outside? Gone. I wanted to run. I wanted to scream. But my legs stayed frozen, anchored to the carpet. He walked closer. "I know what you've endured. The isolation, the heartbreak, the things you tell no one. I know the cafes you frequent, the songs you hum, the streets you walk when it rains. I've been listening." I laughed nervously. "That's impossible." I wanted to believe it, I whispered to myself. Maybe I was overthinking. His gaze was too sharp, too precise. He knew the details he shouldn't. My apartment, my routines, the old nickname my mother used, the playlist I never shared. Every coincidence became too perfect. "I only want to understand," he said. "To be here with you. Safe. Safe." I told myself it made sense. I rationalized. Maybe he was careful, attentive. Someone who understood trauma, who could read the broken spaces inside me. But the notes kept appearing. Left in the lobby, slipped under my door. Voice messages, emails, social media posts I never sent. Accounts tracking me, observing, watching. One night, I heard them moving above me, the soft creak of floorboards in room 404. Footsteps, pacing, humming a song I thought I'd deleted from my memory. My phone buzzed again. Another voice note. I see you. Always. I realized the faces in the room weren't just memories. They were warnings. I tried leaving. I tried blocking, deleting, ignoring. But he was always there. The air in the streets, the hum of neon signs, the taps of the rain, they became his voice. He was inside my routines, in my reflection, in the spaces I thought were private. I started noticing impossible things. A coffee cup exactly where I left it weeks ago. A scarf I thought I'd lost. Books rearranged. Emails opened before I could read them. He knew me better than I knew myself. The confrontation came slowly, naturally, inevitably. I followed a thread of breadcrumbs, digital footprints, metadata, burner phones. Every clue led to him. Room 404, the staircase, the hidden histories. When I finally faced him outside the room, in a quiet corner of the city that smelled like wet asphalt and cigarette smoke, he smiled. You found me, he said, calm, observant, terrifyingly human. I felt every past encounter with him, the notes, the observations, the impossibilities, pressing on me. The police were there soon after. Evidence, recordings, metadata, surveillance. His manipulations, carefully constructed personas, obsession spanning decades. I left the hotel for good. The staircase was gone when I returned. Room 404 no longer accessible. And yet, some nights, when the rain taps the window and neon reflects in puddles on the street, I swear I hear the soft creak of old wood, a whisper, a melody from a song I didn't remember. I survived, but the world feels smaller now, thinner. Every reflection in a window, every note on my phone, every stranger who smiles a little too knowingly. I wonder if I am still being observed, if time itself can hide horrors in plain sight. I think about trust, privacy, obsession, boundaries, identity, memory, how easily someone can inhabit your life without ever being seen. Room 404 doesn't exist, but its shadows do. And somewhere, outside the pulse of ordinary time, the people who vanished wait. Waiting for someone else to find them. Story 4. The first time I met him, it was raining hard enough to make the city look unfinished. Neon broke apart in the puddles. Red, blue, sickly green from the pharmacy sign across the street. Everything reflected, but nothing stayed whole. I had moved to that city 3 months after Daniel left me. That was the polite version. The honest version was that Daniel had spent 4 years teaching me to distrust my own memory. My tone, my clothes, my laugh, my silence. By the end, I apologized for breathing too loudly. So I left. New apartment, new name online, new phone number, new locks, same nervous system. I worked nights because nights were honest. Nobody pretended to be happy after midnight. Men arrived carrying loneliness in expensive coats. They paid for warmth, for listening, for the illusion of being forgiven. He booked through the app under the name Elias. No photo, verified account, clean grammar. Asterisk, I don't want anything physical. I just need conversation, asterisk. That usually meant trouble. But his message was calm, polite, almost tired. We met in a hotel bar where soft jazz leaked from hidden speakers and rain tapped the windows like fingernails. He was younger than I expected, early 30s maybe, pale, thin, beautiful in a damaged way. His eyes were dark and too still. You're late, he said. I checked my phone. 3 minutes. 4, he said gently. You stopped outside because the song bothered you. My hand tightened around my bag. The song playing in the lobby was Autumn Leaves. My mother used to hum it when she washed dishes. I had never told anyone that. He smiled like he regretted knowing. I noticed things, he said. I wanted to leave. Instead, I sat down, because he didn't look dangerous. Because he looked sad. Because I was still the kind of woman who mistook sadness for safety. He ordered tea. Not whiskey. Not champagne. Tea. You hate hotel coffee, he said. I stared at him. He looked out at the rain. Most people do. I told myself it made sense. For 1 hour, he asked careful questions. Not invasive ones. Better than invasive. He asked the kind that made me want to answer. What was the first thing you bought after leaving him? A lamp, I said before I could stop myself. The blue one? My throat went dry. He stirred his tea once. I guessed. I wanted to believe it. That was the first mistake. The second was seeing him again. Elias became my quietest client. No touching. No crude jokes. No performance. He liked cafes open late, corner booths, rain on glass. He listened like a priest and watched like a camera. He remembered everything. My favorite gum. The scar on my left knee from falling off a bike at 9. The fake birthday I used online. The fact that I slept with the bathroom light on. Once, while walking me home through fog and cold yellow streetlights, he said, "Don't take Elm tomorrow." Why? There'll be an accident. There was. A delivery bike went under a bus at 8:17 in the morning. I saw it on the news while my kettle hissed in my silent kitchen. My phone buzzed. Asterisk, you listened. Good, asterisk. I told myself maybe he had seen roadworks. Maybe he followed traffic accounts. Maybe everyone knew Elm was dangerous. Maybe. The next prediction was worse. "Don't answer your sister's call at 2 o'clock, he said. I froze. I don't have a sister. He looked at me with something like pity. At 1:59 the next afternoon, my phone lit up. Unknown number. I answered because fear makes obedience feel humiliating. A woman's voice cried my childhood nickname. "Mara, it's Lily, my half-sister, my father's other daughter, someone I had not spoken to in 17 years. She told me our father had died that morning. Heart failure. Alone. After that, Elias stopped feeling like a client. He became a pressure in the room before he entered it. My phone buzzed at odd hours. Voice notes with only breathing. Emails from fake accounts containing photographs of streets I had just walked down. A dating profile using my old apartment mirror selfie appeared under the name Claire. When I deleted my socials, screenshots arrived anyway. Me buying cigarettes. Me outside the pharmacy. Me asleep on the train, forehead against the window, city lights moving over my face. The captions were always gentle. You look tired. You forgot your umbrella. He used to say you were difficult, but you weren't. That line made me vomit in the sink. Because Daniel had said that. Exactly that. I changed my number. At 3:12 a.m., the new phone buzzed. Numbers are just doors. The apartment hummed around me. Refrigerator. Pipes. Rain. Someone's television through the wall. A laugh track, distant and dead. Then footsteps in the hallway. Slow. Stopping outside my door. My peephole showed only darkness. Something covered it from the other side. I called the police. By the time they came, the hallway was empty except for a paper cup from the cafe where Elias and I met. Inside was a folded receipt. On the back, in neat handwriting, "You always call too late." The officer was kind but tired. "Block him," she said. "He knows things he shouldn't." They usually do. She told me to document everything. So I did. Screenshots. Voice notes. Emails. Security footage from my building showing a man in a black coat entering behind a tenant. Burner numbers. Metadata from images. One photo had GPS coordinates embedded in it. My apartment. My bedroom window. The detective assigned to me was named Rafik. He didn't smile much, which I appreciated. "This isn't just stalking," he said. "This is infrastructure." What does that mean? It means he built a system around you. They found fake profiles, AI-generated voices, a scraped archive of my deleted posts, old forum comments from when I was 16, a cloud folder containing my medical invoices, my rental application, my work schedule, even audio clips of Daniel's voice. Elias had cloned him. One voice note sounded like Daniel whispering, "No one else will understand you." I sat in the police station bathroom with my hands under cold water until they went numb. Rafik traced one payment account to a dead man, another to a woman missing since 2008, then more. Names layered over names. People who had vanished over the last century, digitized into him like masks. "He's using stolen identities," Rafik said. But I already knew it was worse, because Elias finally told me. He asked to meet at the old cinema on Heron Street, closed for years. Its marquee hung crooked, letters missing, rain dripping from the bulbs. I should have let the police handle it. But trauma makes you reckless in one very specific way. You want the person who entered your mind to look you in the eye and admit they were real. I wore a wire. Rafik waited 2 blocks away. Inside, the cinema smelled of wet dust and rotting velvet. The screen was torn. Rainwater dripped somewhere in the dark like a slow clock. Elias sat in the front row. "You came," he said. "You wanted me to. I always want you to choose. You never gave me choices." He turned. His face looked wrong in the projector glow. Not monstrous exactly, just unfinished. His skin too pale. His movements too careful, like a person imitating a person. "You're afraid of me," he said. "Yes. That's healthy." I laughed once. It sounded broken. "Who are you?" He looked at the blank screen. I was born in 2042. The wire under my coat felt suddenly ridiculous. "Don't. You named me Noah." I stopped breathing. Noah was the name I had written once in a notebook at 19. A child I never had. A life I never reached. He continued softly. "Humanity ends in 2079. Not from one bomb. Not one plague. A chain. Climate collapse. Engineered famine. Wars automated by systems no one controlled anymore. I came back to stop the first break." "You're insane." "Yes," he said. "Now." The word landed quietly. He raised his hands. They trembled. "Every intervention changes me. Memory fractures first. Then empathy. Then the body. Time rejects correction. I borrow records. Faces. Dead identities. Missing people. Anything with an empty space I can fit into." The rain grew louder. "You're not my son." "I was." "No. You taught me that fear can become a home if someone decorates it carefully." I flinched. He smiled with terrible tenderness. "I'm sorry. That was cruel." Behind me, a floorboard creaked. Not Elias. Someone else. A second man stepped from the aisle. Same coat. Same face shape. Older. Then a woman. Then another. Masks. Associates. Victims? I couldn't tell. Elias had not built a system around me. He had built a religion. Rafik's voice burst through my earpiece. "Move. Now." Elias heard it. His expression changed, not to anger, but grief. "You brought them. You stalked me. I protected you. You erased me." For the first time, his calm cracked. "I watched you die in 11 timelines." The others moved closer. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A message from my own number. "Run left." I ran right. A hand caught my sleeve. Fabric tore. I slipped on wet tile, slammed into a door, pushed through, and found the side exit chained. Behind me, footsteps. Breathing. Soft. Many. I grabbed a metal fire extinguisher and hit the chain until my palms burned. Once. Twice. The footsteps quickened. The door burst open from outside. Police lights flooded the alley blue. Rafik pulled me through. Elias stood at the threshold, rain behind him, shadows across his face. For 1 second, he looked young. Lost. Almost mine. Then officers swarmed him. He did not fight. He only looked at me and said, "Your lamp breaks tomorrow. Don't stand near it." I didn't answer. They arrested 6 people that night. The news called it a digital stalking collective. A group using predictive software, stolen data, voice cloning, and psychological profiling to manipulate vulnerable women. Elias was identified as Aaron Vale, a former behavioral data engineer whose mother had disappeared when he was a child. Not a time traveler. Not my son. Just a man who had turned grief into surveillance. That was what the world accepted. Maybe it was enough. The next morning, my blue lamp flickered. I unplugged it and sat on the floor until sunrise. Nothing broke, or maybe something already had. Months passed. I moved again. New locks, new curtains, no dating apps, no location sharing, no real name online. Still, sometimes at night, when rain taps the window and the refrigerator hums in the dark, I feel my phone vibrating even when it isn't. I look at reflections differently now. Windows, screens, puddles, eyes. Every surface can hold a watcher. Every kindness can hide a file. I survived him, but survival is not the same as returning. People think privacy is about secrets. It isn't. Privacy is the right to become yourself without being observed into a shape someone else can control. Trust is not blindness. It is a door. And now, before I open any door, I listen. For breathing. For footsteps. For the soft buzz of a phone in the dark. For a voice that knows too much. For someone calling love by another name. Story 5. The rain began the night I stopped believing people came back. Not died. Not disappeared. Just left. Caleb had moved out 3 weeks earlier with 2 suitcases, my good coffee grinder, and the kind of silence that makes you question whether you were ever loved properly at all. He had not slammed the door. That would have been easier. He had kissed my forehead. Softly. Like forgiveness. Like ownership. I relocated across the city after that. A cheaper apartment above a laundromat on Vesper Street, where the floors leaned slightly and the refrigerator hummed like an old man sleeping. At night, neon from the pharmacy sign bled through my curtains in pink and green stripes. I worked evenings cleaning bus stops and emptying public trash bins for the city. A street worker, invisible in a yellow raincoat. People looked past me unless they needed directions or wanted someone to blame. That night, the storm turned the city silver. Rain tapped hard against cafe windows. Taxi tires whispered through black puddles. Somewhere, a saxophone played from a basement bar, soft jazz rising through fog. I was outside Crescent Station when I saw her, an elderly woman under the awning of a closed flower shop. She held a red umbrella. Not bright red, deep red, velvet red, the kind of red that looked warm even in the cold. "You'll need this," she said. Her voice was calm, familiar somehow. "I have a hood," I told her. "You need more than a hood." I should have walked away, but I was lonely. Loneliness makes strange things look like kindness. She pressed the umbrella into my hands. Her fingers were dry despite the rain. "Don't open it unless you're sure," she said. "Sure of what?" She looked past me into the street. A cyclist rolled through the intersection. A bus hissed. The walk signal blinked white. Then she smiled sadly. "You'll know." When I looked down, the umbrella handle was carved from black wood. Smooth. Expensive. Too beautiful for a stranger to give away. When I looked up again, she was gone. I told myself she had turned the corner. I wanted to believe it. The first time I opened it, a man died. Not dramatically. Not like movies. 1 second he was laughing outside a coffee shop, phone pressed to his ear, rain darkening his shoulders. Then headlights flashed. Brakes screamed. People shouted. I froze beneath the red umbrella, dry as bone. The rain around me sounded distant, like it was hitting glass. The man's phone buzzed on the pavement. Again. 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 I didn't sleep that night. My apartment was too quiet. The refrigerator hummed. Pipes clicked behind the wall. A woman upstairs laughed at something on TV, then stopped suddenly. I kept seeing the umbrella leaning beside my door. Closed. Patient. The next morning, the news said the man's name was Daniel Price. 34. Architect. Survived by no one mentioned. That detail stayed with me. No one mentioned. I tried to throw the umbrella away. I left it in the dumpster behind the laundromat, under cardboard and wet newspapers. At midnight, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. A voice note. Static. Rain. Then a man's voice, soft and amused. "You shouldn't leave beautiful things in the trash, Mara." My name. Not printed anywhere on my uniform. Not on my social media. I had deleted almost everything after Caleb. The message ended with 3 seconds of breathing. I stood barefoot in my kitchen, neon trembling across the tiles. Then came the knock. 3 soft taps. The umbrella was outside my door. Dry. Avec later, Emmet Noah. That was not his real name, but I did not know that yet. He appeared in a cafe near my route, reading a paperback with a cracked spine. He had kind eyes, careful hands, and a way of listening that felt like shelter. "You look like someone who hates being asked if she's okay," he said. I almost laughed. "That obvious?" "No," he said. "Just familiar." We talked for 12 minutes. Then 20. Then the rain stopped, and I stayed anyway. He knew how emotional abuse worked without making speeches about it. He knew how a person could make you feel guilty for having feelings. He knew why I checked locks twice. "I used to do that too," he said. It comforted me. That was the first trap. Comfort. He messaged me later through a dating app one barely used. Noah, 36. Audio engineer. Likes black coffee, old jazz, rainy cities. His first message said, "You left before I could ask your favorite song." I told myself it was coincidence. Then he guessed. "Blue and Green," he asked. That had been my mother's song. I had never posted that anywhere. Maybe I mentioned jazz at the cafe. Maybe I had said too much. I told myself it made sense. The second death happened near the bus depot. A woman in a gray coat was crossing under the elevated tracks. I opened the umbrella because the rain was sharp and cold, needling my face. A metal sign loosened overhead. People screamed. The woman was simply gone from standing. Just absence. The red umbrella kept me dry. That night Noah called. Not texted. Called. "I heard about the accident," he said. My hand tightened around the phone. "How?" "It was online. It just happened. People upload everything now." His voice was gentle. Too gentle. "Mara, are you safe?" I wanted someone to ask. So I answered, "Yes." A pause. Then he said, "You're lying." Outside my apartment, footsteps passed my door. Slow. Then stopped. The laundromat machines below clicked into their rinse cycle. Water rushed through pipes. My phone grew warm against my cheek. "Noah, I worry about you," he said. That was when I noticed the small green dot at the top of my screen. Camera active. I threw the phone across the room. It hit the wall and lit the floor with broken glass. The next days became a spiral. Fake profiles watched my stories. Emails arrived from addresses made of random letters, each containing one sentence. "You sleep with the kitchen light on. You cut the tags out of your shirts. Caleb called you Little Bird." That nickname made my stomach turn cold. Only Caleb had used it, and only when he wanted me small. I searched my apartment. Behind the smoke detector, I found a pinhole camera. Inside the lamp base, another. Under my bed frame, a tracker no bigger than a coin. I took everything to the police. The officer at the desk looked tired, but not unkind. "Do you know who could have done this?" I said Caleb's name first, because trauma has muscle memory. Then I said Noah. The officer asked for his full name. I opened the dating app. His profile was gone. The chat was gone. His number no longer existed. At home, rain crawled down my windows in trembling lines. The red umbrella stood beside the door. I had not touched it in days. Then a voice note arrived on my laptop. My mother's voice. Impossible. She had been dead 11 years. "Mara," it said softly. "Open the door." I stopped breathing. The voice was perfect. The tired warmth. The small crack on my name. Then another message appeared. AI is only cruel when people are. I grabbed the umbrella and ran. I don't know why. Maybe because fear makes rituals out of objects. Maybe because I had started believing the umbrella was the source of everything. Outside, Vesper Street was drowned in rain. Neon broke apart beneath my boots. Sirens wailed somewhere far away. Music drifted from an apartment window, soft jazz warped by weather. Then I saw him. Noah. Across the street under no umbrella, hair wet, face calm. He smiled like we had planned to meet. "Mara," he said. Traffic moved between us. "You're hurting yourself with patterns." Stay away from me. I stayed when everyone else left. The words landed exactly where he meant them to, inside the wound. You don't know me, I said. His expression softened. I know you hate pears. I know you count stairs. I know you reread cruel messages because pain feels like proof. My hands shook. I know Caleb trained you to doubt yourself, he said. I only used what he left behind. That was the reveal. Not a ghost. Not fate. A man. Caleb had sold old devices online without wiping them. Photos. Notes. Backups. Voice memos. Passwords. A whole private life cracked open. Noah's real name was Elias Venn. He had stalked women before. Lonely women. Recently moved women. Women rebuilding themselves. He made himself into whatever they needed. A listener. A survivor. A mirror. You killed those people, I whispered. He tilted his head. No, Mara. You did something worse. He pointed to the umbrella. You interrupted things. A bus roared past. For a second, his face disappeared behind rain and reflected brake lights. There are moments, he said, when a life is supposed to end. Cleanly. Quietly. But that umbrella belongs to the thing that closes the door. My mouth went dry. You're insane. Maybe. He smiled. But Daniel Price is alive somewhere he shouldn't be. So is the woman from the depot. And every life that remains open creates pressure. He stepped off the curb. Cars swerved. Someone shouted. I opened the umbrella. I don't know why. Instinct. Protection. Fear. Across the street, nothing happened to him. Instead, a transformer exploded above the block, plunging the street into darkness. People screamed. Phones lit up like scattered stars. Elias ran. But this time, the police were already close. I had left my laptop recording. I had shared my location with the officer. I had sent every file, every voice note, every photo of the devices. They caught him in the alley behind the pharmacy. Not with violence. Not with drama. Just wet hands against brick, blue lights washing his face clean of charm. Later, they found drives in his apartment. Folders named after women. Calendars. Screenshots. Voice models. Fake profiles. Maps. Private grief organized into evidence. And the umbrella? The police logged it as personal property. Red umbrella. Black handle. Unknown brand. No fingerprints except mine. No cameras hidden inside. No device. No mechanism. Nothing. Just fabric. Wood. Silence. The elderly woman was never found. No record. No camera footage. No witness who remembered her. Daniel Price was alive. So was the woman from the depot. Both had no memory of anything unusual. I stopped asking questions after that. Some answers do not heal you. They only give fear better grammar. I moved again. Changed my number. Deleted the apps. Covered my webcam. Learned the shape of boundaries the hard way. Sometimes, when it rains, I hear footsteps in the hallway and wait for the 3 soft knocks. They never come. The red umbrella is locked in a storage unit outside the city. I pay the bill in cash. I do not visit. People think safety is a door you close. It isn't. Safety is knowing who has a key. Trust is not the same as comfort. Privacy is not paranoia. And love, real love, does not study your wounds so it can wear the face of healing. Sometimes the most dangerous stranger is not the one hiding in the dark. Sometimes he arrives softly, listening, remembering, holding an umbrella over your head, and waiting for you to mistake being seen for being safe. Story 6. The first review came in at 2:17 a.m. Rain was tapping the kitchen window like fingernails. The refrigerator hummed. Somewhere below my apartment, a car alarm cried once and stopped, as if ashamed of itself. I was sitting on the floor in an oversized sweater, eating cold noodles from the carton, pretending I was not waiting for my phone to light up. That was what rebuilding looked like for me. Small meals, cheap rent, no shared passwords, no man standing in the doorway asking why I was smiling at my screen. I had left Marcus 6 months earlier. He called it abandonment. My therapist called it survival. The city I moved to was colder than I expected. Wet streets, neon signs bleeding into puddles, cafes that stayed open too late for people who did not want to go home. I worked nights because nights understood me. They did not ask questions. The app was new, client safe. That was the name. A review platform for independent workers. Ratings, verified profiles, safety notes, location logs, emergency contacts. Everyone in my circle started using it. It felt professional, clean, modern, like technology could make danger behave. My first review was from a man named Owen. 5 stars. Asterisk kind. Quiet. Better listener than she knows. Loved our conversation. Shame about the fire next Tuesday. Asterisk. I stared at it until the words softened. Shame about the fire next Tuesday. I thought it was a joke. A bad one. Clients like to feel clever. Men especially. They left little performances everywhere. In texts. In tips. In silence. I reported the review and went to bed. Or tried to. The radiator clicked. Rain slid down the glass. My phone buzzed twice on the nightstand. I did not check it. I wanted to believe it was nothing. Tuesday came with fog. By evening, the whole street looked underwater. I was walking home from the cafe downstairs, coffee burning my palm through the paper cup, when I saw smoke. Not from my building. Across the street. 3rd floor. Orange light pulsing behind the windows. People shouting. A woman barefoot on the sidewalk holding a cat carrier. Sirens coming closer, folding through the rain. The fire department said it started in an old wall outlet. Electrical. Random. That was the word everyone used. Random. I went upstairs and opened client safe with wet hands. The review was gone. In its place was a notification. Content removed for policy violation. I told myself it made sense. Someone had made a sick joke. Coincidence had done the rest. The world was full of bad timing. Then came the second review. A different client. Verified. Polite man. Gray coat. Said almost nothing during the booking except that he liked jazz. His review appeared at 3:04 a.m. 4 stars. Asterisk, she keeps looking toward the door when the hallway creaks. She should. The man in 5B leaves his keys under the mat. He will not need them after Friday. Asterisk. I sat very still. Above me, music leaked through the ceiling. Soft jazz. Thin and lonely. The kind that sounds better through walls. My neighbor in 5B was Mr. Alvarez. 72. Retired bus driver. He watered the dead plant outside his door every morning because his wife had bought it before she passed. On Friday, he slipped on the stairwell. He survived. Barely. The ambulance lights painted the hallway red. His keys were under the mat. I had never noticed that before. After that, I stopped sleeping properly. I deleted the app. Reinstalled it. Changed passwords. Checked settings. Location permissions. 2-factor authentication. Email recovery. The practical rituals of fear. A woman from support replied to my complaint with soft corporate language. We take safety seriously. Everyone says that now. Banks. Apps. Men. Avec later. Ima Daniel. Not my Daniel. Not Marcus. I mean another Daniel. That was his name on the app. He messaged carefully. No pressure. No impatience. He asked if I preferred cafes or hotel lobbies for first meetings. He said he understood boundaries. He said he had gone through a divorce too. We met in a cafe with yellow lamps and rain trembling on the windows. He was younger than I expected. Late 30s. Dark hair. Calm hands. He wore a navy scarf and smelled faintly of cedar soap. You look tired, he said. I laughed once. That obvious? No, he said. Just familiar. Something in me softened. That was how danger entered after Marcus. Not loudly. Not with force. With recognition. Daniel listened more than he spoke. When I mentioned I hated being called Livy, his eyes moved gently to his coffee. Old nickname? My mother, I said. Only she used it. He nodded. I won't use it. He said it like a promise. The cafe speakers played an old Nina Simone song. My mother used to play the same one on Sunday mornings. For a moment, the city felt less sharp. Daniel walked me to the corner, but did not ask to come upstairs. "Text me when you're home," he said, then paused. "Only if you want." I wanted to believe that kindness could exist without a hook, so I texted him. "Home," he replied. Asterisk good. Lock both locks. The bottom one sticks unless you lift the handle. Asterisk. I stood in my hallway, hand on the doorknob. He was right. The bottom lock did stick. I had never told him. Maybe he had the same lock. Maybe old buildings were predictable. Maybe I was overthinking. The next review appeared from Owen, the fire client. But Owen was dead. I found his obituary online after 10 minutes of searching. He had died 2 months before I ever met him. Heart condition. No funeral service. Same photo as his client-safe profile. The review said, asterisk, she likes rain because it hides footsteps. Tell her the burner phone is behind the radiator. Asterisk. My apartment went silent. Not peaceful silent. Listening silent. The refrigerator hummed. A pipe knocked. My phone buzzed in my hand like an insect. I looked at the radiator. Dust. Peeling paint. Heat breathing through metal ribs. Behind it, taped to the wall, was a cheap black phone. It lit up when I touched it. One unread voice note. I should have called the police first. I know that now. But fear is not procedural. I pressed play. My own voice filled the kitchen. Soft. Broken. Recorded years ago. Please stop checking my phone, Marcus. Please. Then Marcus's voice. You make it necessary. I dropped the burner phone. My throat closed around air. No one had that recording except Marcus. Or so I thought. I called Daniel. He answered on the second ring. Olivia? No one on the app knew my real name. Not Olivia. Not Livy. My skin went cold. He exhaled softly. I'm sorry, he said. For what? For how frightening this must feel. His calmness became a room I could not leave. How do you know my name? A pause. Rain tapped the window. I know more than I should, he said. But not for the reason you think. I hung up. Then came emails. Old emails. Screenshots from deleted accounts. Photos from my private cloud. A scan of my lease. A map of my nightly walks marked in blue. A playlist titled songs she pretends not to miss. Client-safe reviews kept appearing from dead clients. Men I had never met. Men from other cities. Men whose profiles led to obituaries, memorial pages, archived social media. All of them rated me. All of them knew pieces of me. She checks the mirror before opening the door. She counts footsteps in the hall. She still sleeps on the left side of the bed because someone once took the right. Each review predicted something small. A power cut. A police car outside my building. A cafe closing early. Then something worse. The woman in the red scarf will disappear after midnight. I knew her. Not well. Her name was Elise. She came to the cafe most nights and wrote in a notebook with a green pen. She wore a red scarf even indoors. I warned her. Badly. Like a stranger losing her mind. She smiled with pity. Are you okay? No, I said. You shouldn't walk home alone tonight. She left anyway. By morning, her face was on local news. Missing. Last seen near Mercer Street. That was when Detective Mara Voss entered my life. She had a voice like locked metal. She did not tell me I was paranoid. She did not ask what I wore or why I met clients or whether the app was that kind of app. She looked at the reviews, the burner phone, the emails. Then she said, "This is infrastructure." What does that mean? It means one person is not just watching you. They built a system. The police traced the burner phone to a kiosk camera. The buyer wore a mask and cap. Unhelpful. They subpoenaed client safe. The company delayed. Lawyers always move slower than fear. Daniel messaged me again. Asterisk, you need to understand. The dead are not speaking. Someone is using them. Asterisk. I stared at the screen in the dark. Who? 3 dots appeared. Vanished. Appeared again. The founder. Client safe had been created by a man named Adrian Bell. Publicly, he was a safety advocate. Interviews, podcasts, clean shirts, gentle voice. His sister had been murdered after meeting a client, he said. The app was built in her memory. Mara found the lie first. No sister, no murder, no Adrian Bell. The founder's real name was Marcus Hale. My Marcus, not ex-boyfriend Marcus. Not just the man I escaped. The man who had built an app to make escape meaningless. He had started ClientSafe 18 months before I left him. Quietly, through shell companies, fake staff, fake support agents. He scraped worker forums, dating apps, leaked databases, bought data, built profiles, used dead men's identities because dead people do not answer verification emails. The predictions were not supernatural. They were scheduling, manipulation, access. He caused what he predicted when he could. When he couldn't, he used probability and surveillance until coincidence looked like prophecy. The fire had been reported as electrical. Later, investigators found a tampered outlet. Mr. Alvarez's stairwell had been wiped with cooking oil. The power cut came from a maintenance request submitted under a fake tenant name. Elise was found 2 days later in an abandoned rental unit, alive, dehydrated, terrified. She had been lured there by a message from someone pretending to be her brother. Marcus had not only stalked me, he had staged a religion around my fear. The confrontation happened in the cafe. Of course it did. Rain on the windows, neon trembling in puddles, jazz playing softly like the city had not learned anything. Mara wired me. I sat across from Marcus for the first time in 6 months. He looked thinner, better dressed, almost peaceful. You cut your hair, he said. I said nothing. It suits you. You built the app. I built protection. You built a cage. He smiled sadly, like I had disappointed him by understanding. You always needed patterns, he said. I gave you patterns. You used dead men. I used available data. You hurt people. His eyes changed then. Not anger. Worse. Intimacy. I kept you alive. The phone in my pocket buzzed. A new ClientSafe review. From Daniel. 5 stars. Asterisk, she is braver when she thinks nobody sees it. Police are outside. He knows, asterisk. Marcus glanced toward the window. For the first time, fear touched his face. Police moved fast after that. Chairs scraped. Coffee spilled. Someone screamed once. Marcus did not fight. He only looked at me as they pulled his hands behind his back. You'll miss being known, he said quietly. I thought I might break. Instead, I laughed. Not because it was funny, because he still thought knowledge was love. Months have passed. ClientSafe is gone. There are articles now, lawsuits, interviews with experts saying words like data exploitation, coercive control, predictive abuse, synthetic identity fraud. Clean words, useful words, but they do not describe the sound of a phone buzzing at 2:17 a.m. They do not describe how rain can make every footstep sound like memory. I live somewhere else now. Smaller, brighter, no radiator, no cafe downstairs. I keep my windows uncovered during the day. At night, I still check reflections. Healing is not becoming fearless. It is learning that fear can knock without being invited in. I used to think trust meant giving someone access. Now I think trust is the opposite. Trust is a door that remains yours. A password you do not share. A silence nobody gets to fill. Marcus wanted to turn my life into evidence that he belonged inside it. He wanted every coincidence to point back to him. Every sound, every habit, every private wound. But identity is not a file someone can steal. Memory is not a room someone can enter because they found the key. And being seen is not the same as being loved. Sometimes love is privacy. Sometimes safety is absence. Sometimes the most beautiful review anyone can leave on your life is no review at all. Just space. Just quiet. Just the rain outside, touching the glass, unable to come in. Story 7. Rain-slicked streets glimmered under neon signs. I hugged my coat tighter and stepped over puddles, letting the cold seep through the soles of my shoes. My apartment was quiet, too quiet. Just the hum of the fridge, the occasional squeak of floorboards, the way the radiator rattled when it kicked in. It reminded me I was alone, always alone. Divorce papers still sat on the kitchen counter. A month, 30 days. 30 days of rebuilding life while pretending it didn't hurt. The first time I saw her, I thought I imagined her. Outside the Carlton Hotel, midnight, a woman standing perfectly still under a flickering street lamp. Wet hair plastered to her face, black coat clinging to her frame. She looked at me. I blinked, and she was gone. I shrugged it off. Rain shadows my tired mind. Then the next night, same thing. Different hotel, different street. She waited there, always at the edges of the light. No one else noticed her. Not the cab driver, not the bouncer, just me. I started timing my walks, slowing down, pausing, trying to catch her reflection in shop windows, puddles, glass doors. Nothing. No reflection. I wanted to believe it was coincidence. Maybe I was overthinking. I told myself it made sense. Weeks passed. I met him through a dating app. Late night swipe, half asleep, half curious. He messaged me immediately. Polite, attentive, familiar. He knew my favorite cafe. Not from my posts, not from photos. From somewhere else. I told myself it was coincidence. I wanted to believe it. He listened without judgment. He remembered things I had never told anyone. Old nicknames. Songs I hummed when I was alone. The way I arranged sugar packets in the cafe. I rationalized. Maybe he noticed. Maybe he guessed. Maybe he was just kind. Then the impossible details appeared. My bag went missing, only for 10 minutes. When I returned, it was exactly where I left it, except a note inside. I know where you hide your favorite perfume. It's sweet, like your patience. I froze, heart pounding. I wanted to believe it made sense. I told myself I was overreacting. I started documenting her, the woman with no reflection. I followed her cautiously. She moved silently, effortlessly. I tried talking once. She didn't respond, didn't blink. Stood there, a shadow. Then I saw the phone. One night, I glanced at her wrist. A tiny device, barely noticeable. Tracking, recording, streaming. By the third week, my apartment felt unsafe. Buzzing phones, strange emails, photos I didn't take, AI voice notes in my voicemail, my own voice saying things I never said. I woke up with tiny scratches on my arms, clothes misplaced, windows locked, doors bolted. Everywhere I went, she was there. Sometimes across the street, sometimes inside my peripheral vision. I tried to convince myself, paranoia, trauma, stress. Then I met the detective, a woman assigned to another case, but she stayed. Her presence was calm, warm, protective. We shared coffee at dawn, rain dripping off our coats. She listened, really listened. I believe you, she said once. Those words almost made me cry. Safe. For a moment, I was safe. But she didn't understand the full scope. Not yet. The spiral began. She appeared in hotel mirrors now. Not her reflection. Instead, reflections warped. Faint, wrong, a little too slow to move. One night, I touched the glass. Her hand didn't match mine. The reflection's eyes were darker, hollow. And then I realized it wasn't supernatural. It wasn't ghosts. It was something else. I felt it first as a creeping itch behind my eyes, then as dreams I couldn't distinguish from memory. A parasite, biological, silent, rewriting neurons. Slowly, insidiously, years passed. The woman never aged, never left, never blinked. She was a warning, a fragment of the future. Until the day I understood. I carried her. Inside me, I had unknowingly been infected. Every encounter, every intimate touch had transmitted it. And the parasite wasn't just biological. It rewrote thoughts, habits, identity. I looked in the mirror and hesitated. Was that me? Or her? The edges blurred. Voices overlapped. I remembered faces I never knew. The detective tried to intervene. Evidence gathered. DNA swabs, phone logs, tracking apps. She tried to stop me. I didn't understand yet. I didn't understand until the first murder. A client, alone in his apartment. I barely remembered entering, barely remembered leaving. Just the ritual, the pattern, the parasite acting through me. And then I saw her, standing outside a hotel, watching, waiting. I realized the horror. She wasn't a ghost. She was a victim, from the future. The final confrontation was silent. Rain slicked streets. I backed into an alley. Detective cornered me. Evidence everywhere. Photos, phones, metadata. I looked at her, really looked. The woman with no reflection. She extended a hand. Not to comfort me, not to stop me, just a warning. The police arrived minutes later. I was restrained. Everything recorded. Everything documented. Months later, therapy rooms still smell like antiseptic and stale coffee. The parasite was gone, or so they said, but the memory remains. The sensation of another mind brushing against mine. The knowledge that obsession can live inside you. I walk streets differently now. Check reflections obsessively. Avoid shadows. I leave lights on. Doors locked. Phones silenced. Sometimes I see her in neon reflections. The woman with no reflection. Watching. Waiting. And I know trust is fragile. Identity is negotiable. Memory is a traitor. We are never entirely our own. The parasite didn't just infect my body. It infected time, space, perception. And maybe one day it will find another host. And she will still be there. Watching. Waiting. In the end, the question isn't whether we survive. It's whether we remain ourselves. And I am not sure I do. Not completely. Not anymore. Story 8. Rain smacked the windshield in staccato rhythms. Neon bled off wet asphalt, smearing into streaks of pink and green. I rubbed my temples, the ache of another long night pressing through the hum of the engine. The city had a smell tonight, exhaust, wet concrete, a hint of fried food from the 24-hour cafe on the corner. I'd been driving this route for months, drifting between lonely streets, empty highways, and soft-lit apartments. Since the divorce, since the breakup that had left me hollow, every shift felt like penance. I worked to forget myself. I drove to disappear. He climbed in without knocking. Black coat, calm eyes, the faint scent of tobacco and cologne. He didn't smile. Not exactly. But he looked at me as though he already knew everything. My failed relationships, the nights I spent staring at the ceiling, the old scars under my sleeve. "Can you take me somewhere?" he asked, voice smooth. Neutral. Attentive. "Where?" I said. "Wherever I need to go," he said. And then softer. "I'll tell you when we get there." I wanted to believe it was normal. I told myself it made sense. Maybe he was just lonely. Maybe I was projecting. I had a habit of thinking the best of people until the worst became impossible to ignore. The first stop was a corner near the river. Fog rolled in over the water, curling around street lamps. He didn't speak. He didn't even get out. He just watched. Silently. 1 minute. Then we moved on. "Why are we stopping?" I asked finally. He looked at me as if surprised I hadn't noticed. "It's not about the stop. It's about seeing." I laughed nervously. Seeing what? The pattern. I wanted to believe he meant something abstract. Maybe he was a performance artist, an eccentric philosopher. Maybe I was overthinking. The second stop, near a corner deli, he repeated the ritual. 1 minute. Silence. He counted it, he said later, in his calm voice, like someone reciting a mantra. And when we drove away, a man on the street stumbled, hit by a cab seconds after we passed. My stomach turned. Coincidence, I rationalized. A trick of timing. We drove for hours. Every stop, every silent observation, a stranger, a single minute. I began to notice the pattern myself. People leaving stores, crossing streets, sitting on benches. They didn't just exist. They vanished. One after another, accidents, sudden deaths, emergencies. At first, I blamed fate. Then slowly, a creeping horror sank in. He wasn't predicting it. He was doing something else entirely. Something impossible. I watched the pattern unfold like a film I couldn't close. He knew me too well. He knew my routes, the cafes I liked, the songs I hummed while driving, the playlists I'd deleted months ago. My favorite hoodie, my old nickname, the one I never told anyone. I told myself it made sense. Maybe I was being paranoid. Maybe he had sources, connections. Maybe I wanted to believe it. By the fifth stop, I was trembling. Every red light, every reflection in the rain-soaked windows, every passing siren felt like a warning. The city seemed sharper, smaller, suffocating. My phone buzzed constantly, notifications, location trackers, emails I didn't send, accounts that knew my preferences, my schedule, my thoughts. He never raised his voice. He just watched. 1 minute, exactly 1 minute. Then we moved on. I asked once quietly, why me? You notice, he said, voice soft, observant, invasive, calm. Most people don't. I didn't sleep that night. Every creak in the apartment, every hum of the refrigerator, every raindrop on the window became a signal. He was there, even when he wasn't. And then I realized it wasn't just seeing. It was me. I was complicit. My eyes followed him, my thoughts tuned to him. Every blink, every heartbeat, every glance, feeding the pattern. The final stop was my street, my building, my apartment. My pulse slammed in my ears as we pulled up. The familiar neon reflection on wet asphalt seemed to flicker in warning. He turned to me calm. You understand now? I don't want this, I whispered. You can't leave, he said. His smile was faint, almost caring. Not until you see what it means to look. He pointed. The same pattern. Across the street, a figure crossing carelessly, unaware. My heart froze. I realized he had no clients. No purpose outside this ritual. He was the conductor, the pattern. And now it was me. I stumbled into my apartment, locking the door, trembling. Phones buzzed. Emails opened themselves. Metadata revealed tracking, AI voice notes, fake social media profiles. Everything I had ever considered private, already known. Every secret exposed. Every memory invaded. The police came days later. Evidence, cameras, location data, multiple identities. His victims cataloged, manipulated. Obsessions spanning years, decades even. A man who could hide behind empathy and intelligence while orchestrating death with the precision of a maestro. I survived, but the city feels thinner now. Every reflection in a window, every stranger who smiles too knowingly, every buzz from my phone, a signal. I still drive sometimes. I still see the rain tapping neon reflections. But I never stop, never watch, never linger. The pattern is gone from my hands, but the memory presses into me, a weight that will never lift. Trust is fragile, privacy an illusion. Obsession wears many faces, some gentle, some terrifying. Boundaries can be crossed before we even know they exist. And sometimes looking is enough to change everything. I learned the hardest lesson of all. Seeing can kill. Not fate, not chance, but the quiet attention of someone who knows too much. Someone who watches. And sometimes I wonder, what if I see again? Story 9. When I moved into St. Orla House, I had just stopped answering to the name Daniel used for me. Not my real name. His name for me. Baby. Then stupid girl. Then nothing at all. By the time I left him, silence had become a language I understood too well. I moved across the city with 2 suitcases, a cracked phone, and a new profile on an escort app under a name I chose myself. Mara. Short. Clean. Mine. St. Orla House stood at the end of a narrow street where rain collected in black gutters and neon from the 24-hour pharmacy smeared across the pavement like wet paint. The building was old brick, 7 floors, with iron balconies and windows that reflected the city without ever seeming to belong to it. Inside, the lobby smelled of damp plaster, dust, and boiled cabbage. The pipes whispered all night. At first, I found that comforting. Noise meant I wasn't alone. My apartment was 4B. Small. Yellow kitchen. 1 window facing an alley. A refrigerator that hummed like it was thinking. I worked mostly from there. No street corners. No clubs. No cheap hotel rooms unless the client paid well and seemed clean. I screened carefully. Dating app accounts, socials, emails, reverse image searches, burner numbers, metadata if they sent photos. I had learned caution the expensive way. My first week, the woman across the hall knocked with a jar of coffee. "I'm Elise," she said. She had silver hair, soft hands, and tired eyes. She wore perfume that smelled like old roses. "Mara," I said. She smiled. "Good. Hold on to that." I laughed because I thought she was joking. She didn't laugh back. The first thing I noticed was the mailboxes. Names scratched out. Not removed. Scratched. Layer after layer of labels torn away, replaced, torn again. Some boxes had apartment numbers only. Some had names written in black marker, then crossed through so violently the metal was dented. The superintendent told me not to worry. His name was Mr. Vale, or that was what he told me. He was calm, handsome in a washed-out way, always wearing dark sweaters and carrying a ring of keys that made no sound. "People come and go," he said. "Cities make strangers of us." He looked at me like he understood too much. That was the first red flag. I ignored it. I wanted to believe kindness could still exist without a hook. The forgetting began gently. A client forgot my name while putting on his coat. "Sorry," he said, embarrassed. "Claire?" "Mara." "Right, Mara." The next day, Elise called me Nora, then apologized, then stared at me as if the correction had frightened her. The rain tapped the hallway windows. Somewhere below us, soft jazz played from an apartment no one admitted living in. "Names slip here," she whispered. I told myself she was old. I told myself buildings had moods. Maybe I was overthinking. A week later, I woke to my phone buzzing at 3:17 a.m. Unknown number. A voice note. I played it. At first, there was only breathing, close to the microphone. Then a woman's voice whispered my childhood nickname. Mimi. No one called me that anymore. My mother had, when she was alive. The audio crackled, and behind the whisper I heard pipes knocking. 1, 2, 3. From inside my bathroom wall, the pipes knocked back. 1, 2, 3. I deleted the note, then restored it, then sent it to myself. Evidence. Always evidence. By morning, the file name had changed. It no longer said voice_note_0317. It said mar_for_ now. That evening, Mr. Vale was waiting in the lobby. "You look tired," he said. "I didn't sleep." "No," he said softly. "You listened." I stopped. The lobby lights flickered. Rainwater ran down the glass doors behind him. His reflection stood slightly behind his body, delayed by a second. "What did you say?" He smiled. "Old buildings are loud." I wanted to leave. Instead, I took the stairs. Because fear makes you practical before it makes you brave. The second stage was family. Elise forgot her son. She showed me a framed photo in her apartment. A boy in a school uniform, missing one front tooth. "Who is he?" she asked. "Your son." She nodded, relieved. "Yes, that sounds right. What's his name?" Her face emptied. The refrigerator hummed. Rain scratched the window. Through the vent came a low murmur, like a crowd speaking underwater. "Don't let it hear you say yours too often," Elise whispered. I backed toward the door. In the hallway, my phone buzzed. A new email. Subject: Your client list is not private. Inside were screenshots. My app profile. My deleted social posts. Old pictures Daniel had taken of me sleeping. My rental agreement. My passport scan. My mother's death certificate. At the bottom was a line of text. Identity is just information people agree not to steal. I called the police. The officer on the phone asked for my name. I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. For 3 seconds, I could see the letters in my mind, but not reach them. M-A-R-A, like objects behind glass. "Mara," I said finally. The silence after that felt alive. Detective Rafik came 2 days later. He was practical, tired, and real. His shoes squeaked on the wet lobby tile. This could be digital stalking, he said after reviewing my phone. Someone has access to your accounts. Maybe your router. Maybe your cloud backups. What about the voice? AI cloning is easy now if they have samples. My mother died before smartphones. He looked at me. Old home videos? I nodded because I needed that answer. I told myself it made sense. Rafik asked about enemies. I almost laughed. Men who paid to be wanted often hated you for pretending well. Daniel hated me for leaving. Clients hated boundaries. Lonely people hated closed doors. That night, Mr. Vale knocked. Not hard. 2 soft taps. I watched him through the peephole, his face curved by the glass. Gentle, patient. You shouldn't bring police into a sick building, he said. I didn't answer. You think privacy means hiding, he continued. It doesn't. Privacy is being held by the right memory. My stomach turned. How do you know about the police? He leaned closer. The hallway light buzzed above him. Because everything said here comes home. Behind him, under the wallpaper, something shifted. Not a rat. Too broad. Too slow. I slept with a chair under the door handle. At 4:02 a.m., music came through the vent. Soft jazz. Then Daniel's voice. Mara, open the door. I froze. His voice. Perfect. Warm. Abusive in the old familiar way. Mara, it said again. You always make things difficult. I crawled to the vent and held my phone close. Recording. The voice changed. My mother. Mimi. Then Elise. Hold on to that. Then my own voice. My name is Mara. Over and over. Softer each time. As if the wall was practicing. The next morning, Elise was gone. Her door stood open. Inside, the apartment was empty, except for the framed photo of the boy. The glass was cracked. The child's face had blurred, not like water damage, but like the paper had forgotten him. On her kitchen wall, beneath peeling paint, I saw hair. Silver hair, threaded into plaster. I ran. Downstairs, Mr. Vale waited with 2 coffee cups. You're grieving someone you barely knew, he said. That means you're still intact. What did you do to her? I gave her rest. You erased her. No, he said. The building kept what the world neglected. His calm was worse than shouting. He told me St. Orla House had always taken people like us. Runaways, widows, addicts, sex workers, old tenants whose children stopped calling, people with names already loosened by shame. The walls remember better than families do, he said. I stepped back. His eyes softened. You're almost safe, Mara. The way he said my name felt like theft. Rafik returned with a warrant that afternoon. Police searched the basement. They found servers behind a false wall, hard drives, cameras hidden in vents, microphones and smoke detectors, a chemical dispersal system connected to the old heating ducts, sedatives, hallucinogens, identity documents, audio archives, missing persons files going back decades. St. Orla House was not haunted. That was what the report would say. It was a criminal network, a manipulation campaign, a building used as a machine. Mr. Vale was not even Mr. Vale. His real name had been stolen too many times to trust any version. He had inherited the building from a therapist who experimented on tenants. Then he refined it with modern tools, apps, tracking, AI voices, data scraping, gaslighting made architectural. But when the officers cut into the basement wall, one of them screamed. I saw only for a second. Shapes inside the plaster. Faces pressed behind layers of damp gray material. Mouths open. Not dead. Not alive. Whispering through pipes. One voice rose above the others. Elise, it said, as if the building had finally remembered her. The lights went out. In the dark, the walls breathed. Not metaphorically. Once. Twice. The floor flexed under us like a sleeping chest. Rafik grabbed my wrist. Move. Sirens wailed outside. Radios crackled. Police shouted names to keep track of each other. Rafik. Chun. Mara. Each name thrown like a rope. Mr. Vale stood at the basement stairs, smiling sadly. You can't arrest hunger, he said. Rafik tackled him. I ran. Up through the lobby. Past the scratched mailboxes. Past doors opening to tenants who stared blankly, trying to remember why fear had entered the room. The building groaned. Pipes hammered. Vents whispered. Names poured through the walls. Mara. Elise. Daniel. Mimi mother. Son. Nobody. 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 Outside, rain hit my face like cold needles. I crossed the street barefoot and watched police lights wash St. Orla House blue and red. At dawn, they brought Mr. Vale out in cuffs. He looked at me once. Not angry. Almost proud. "You kept your name," he said. I did not answer, because I was afraid the building might hear me. Months later, I live in a room with white walls and no vents. I write my name every morning in a notebook. Mara, then my mother's, then Elise's, then every name I can bear to remember. The official story is simple. A predator used technology, drugs, and isolation to make people doubt themselves. He stole their identities before stealing their lives. That story is believable. I repeat it when I need sleep. But sometimes, when rain taps the glass and the refrigerator hums in the dark, I hear pipes in other buildings whispering. Softly, patiently, as if every wall is listening for a name left unattended. I used to think identity was something inside me. Private, permanent, mine. Now I know it is also a boundary. A door, a light left on, a word you must keep saying, even when the world tries to make you forget. Because there are people who love you by learning you, and there are others who learn you to erase the difference. Story 10. The first thing I forgot was my birthday. Not the date exactly. That stayed. June 17th. Cold cake. Summer rain. Cheap candles. But the feeling disappeared. The little private glow that came with being remembered by someone. The smell of my mother's vanilla frosting. The way my father used to tap the table twice before singing, always off-key. Gone, like a room with the furniture removed. I blamed stress. I blamed the divorce. I blamed the new apartment with its thin walls and humming refrigerator and the laundromat sign bleeding blue neon through my curtains all night. I had become good at blaming things. After Caleb left, I took private cleaning jobs through an app called Househand. Offices, apartments, after-hours rentals, quiet places where rich people left fingerprints on glass and lipstick on coffee cups. I liked the work because no one looked at me for long. Then he booked me. His name on the app was Adrian Vale. No profile photo. 5-star client. Premium rate. The job was in a serviced apartment above the river, 37 floors up, where the windows held the city like a dark aquarium. Rain crawled down the glass. Traffic lights dissolved into red and green wounds below. He was waiting inside. Gray coat. Calm face. Hands folded around a ceramic cup. "You're Mara," he said. Most clients said my name like they owned it. He said it like he had practiced being gentle. "Yes, I'm Adrian." His voice was soft, educated, almost tired. "I'll stay out of your way." He didn't. He watched me clean. Not in a crude way, in a studying way. When I wiped the kitchen counter, he asked, "Do you always start from the left?" I paused. "I don't know." "You do." I smiled because I didn't know what else to do. Maybe he was lonely. Maybe I was overthinking. At the end, he transferred the payment through the app. Then he said, "I'd like to add something extra." My phone buzzed. $5,000. I stared at the screen until the numbers blurred. "I can't accept that." "You already have." The rain tapped the windows harder. He looked at me with unsettling kindness. People underestimate what their time is worth. That night, I forgot my birthday. The second job came 3 days later. Same apartment, same rain, soft jazz playing from hidden speakers. Adrian had left a bowl of pears on the table. I hated pears. Caleb knew that. My mother knew that. Almost no one else. "You don't like them," Adrian said. I looked up. "Then why are they here?" "To see if you remembered." A strange answer. I laughed once. Small. Nervous. "I remember not liking pears." "Good." He smiled. The tip that night was 10,000. The next morning, I could not remember my first school. I knew I had attended one. I knew there had been a gate, a uniform, a girl named Lena who shared sour candy with me behind the music room. But the name was gone. So was Lena's face. I searched old emails. Nothing. I searched social media. My accounts had been scrubbed years ago after Caleb used my posts as evidence that I was too available to strangers. I told myself it made sense. Trauma damages memory. People forget things. People survive by misplacing themselves. Then the voice notes began. Unknown number. One at 2:13 a.m. At first, only breathing. Then my own voice. Younger. Laughing. I'm never moving away from here. I swear. I sat up in bed, cold under my skin. Rain tapped the window. The refrigerator hummed. Somewhere above me, a floorboard creaked. I had never recorded that. Or I had. Maybe years ago. Maybe on an old phone. Maybe Caleb had kept backups. I wanted to believe there was a normal explanation. Adrian booked me every week. He paid enormous sums. Never cash. Always transfers. Crypto. Gifted stocks. Digital vouchers. Clean money moving through clean systems. After each meeting, something vanished. My favorite teacher. The sound of my father's laugh. The name of the street where I grew up. A friend who had once slept beside me on the floor after Caleb punched a hole through a door and called it an accident. I remembered the fear. Not her name. That scared me most. Pain stayed. Love left. Adrian grew warmer as I became emptier. He started mentioning things before I did. You used to hum when you were anxious. I don't. You did. He wore a blue scarf one night. My mother had owned one like it. Same loose thread near the edge. He ordered coffee exactly how I liked it. Black. Too hot. No sleeve. You learn people through patterns, he said, watching the steam rise. Most people beg to be known, then panic when someone listens properly. That sounds like something Caleb would say. No, he said gently. Caleb listened to control you. I listened because I admired design. Design. You. The room went silent except for the jazz and rain. I should have left. Instead, I cleaned the bathroom mirror. My reflection looked pale, uncertain. Behind me, Adrian's reflection watched. On the 5th booking, I found the camera. It was inside a fake smoke detector in my apartment. Not his. Mine. Then another beneath my desk. Then a tracking tag stitched into the lining of my work bag. My phone buzzed. Adrian. You found the obvious ones. I dropped the phone. The screen lit the floor. A second message arrived. Asterisk, don't be angry. Anger distorts recall. Asterisk. I went to the police. The officer took notes. Calmly. Professionally. But when I said I was forgetting memories, his pen slowed. Do you have medical documentation? No. Any diagnosed condition? No. Any proof this man caused it? I opened the app. Adrian Vale was gone. No booking history. No payments. No messages. My bank account still showed deposits, but from shell companies with names like Weather, Cold Front LLC, Rain Archive Ltd. The officer leaned back. Ms. Hale, you may be dealing with fraud and stalking. The memory part is harder. Harder. That was the word adults used when they meant impossible. That night, my doorbell camera sent a motion alert. The hallway was empty. Then a voice came through the speaker. My voice. Current. Exact. Open the door, Mara. I held my breath. The appliances hummed. A siren passed far away. Then another voice. My mother. Mara, sweetheart. It's raining. I covered my ears like a child. The next morning, every photo of me online had changed. Not deleted. Changed. My face slightly blurred in family pictures. My name missing from tagged posts. Old emails addressed to me now began with blank space. Even Caleb texted, "Why is some guy using your childhood photos?" My hands shook so hard I could barely type. "What guy?" He sent a screenshot. Adrian. But not Adrian. He was standing in front of my childhood house, wearing my father's old brown jacket, smiling like he belonged there. Caption: Home always remembers. That was when I stopped thinking he wanted money. He wanted continuity, a human life, mine. I broke into his serviced apartment with the spare access code I had watched him enter. Stupid, desperate, necessary. The city below was fogged in rain. Neon floated in the windows. The apartment smelled of coffee, paper, and expensive soap. Inside the bedroom, I found the walls. Photographs, schedules, maps, printed metadata, screenshots from dating apps I had never joined, emails, medical forms, voice models, AI-generated videos of me at events I never attended, and folders, dozens of women, each labeled by first name, each with subfolders, childhood, family, romance, shame, voice, gestures, loss. Mine was the largest. Mara/primary structure. On his desk sat a tablet. A video played when I touched it. Adrian facing the camera. Only he looked different. His hair cut like mine used to be in college. My scar recreated above his eyebrow with makeup. My posture, my pauses, my small half-smile when afraid. Memory is not magic, he said on the recording. It is data plus emotion. Data can be harvested. Emotion can be induced. Identity can be reconstructed if the subject is isolated enough. I could hear myself breathing. On screen, he continued. She will call it forgetting. That is useful. But she is not losing memories. She is losing witnesses. Once enough external records are altered, removed, or contradicted, the mind begins to surrender. My phone buzzed. Adrian. No. Me. The contact name read, Mara Hale. A message. You shouldn't be in our room. Footsteps sounded in the hallway. Slow. Polite. I hid behind the bedroom door with the tablet clutched to my chest. The lock clicked. Adrian entered humming softly. Blue and green. My mother's song. He walked to the window. I know you're here, he said. Not loud. Not angry. Almost tender. You always hide near exits. Caleb taught you that. I stepped out. My voice came out thin. What are you? He turned. A person in progress. You stole from me. I purchased access. You stalked me. I studied what no one protected. His calm was worse than rage. He looked fuller now, more alive, as if my history had given him color. I used to have nothing, he said. No reliable childhood. No family archive. No emotional map. People trust people with stories. So I built one. With mine. With the strongest available material. I laughed once, broken and dry. You're insane. No, I'm successful. Then he said my father's full name. Then my mother's last words before the surgery. Then the nickname Caleb used when he wanted me small. Little bird. I felt something inside me fold. He stepped closer. You're tired of being Mara, he whispered. I can carry it better. My phone was already recording. So was the tablet, and the tiny camera I had found in my apartment and brought with me, still connected to the police evidence portal the officer had given me after the first report. Adrian noticed too late. Sirens rose below. Blue and red light washed across the rain-slick windows. For the first time, his face emptied. Not fear, calculation. He moved toward me. I ran. Through the hallway. Past mirrored doors. Past my own face printed on paper. The elevator was too slow, so I took the stairs. 37 floors. My knees burned. Footsteps above me. His breathing behind me. My phone buzzed again and again in my pocket. Voice notes. My mother. Caleb. Me. All saying stop. All saying come back. All fake. At the lobby, 2 officers came through the glass doors with rain on their shoulders. I fell behind them like a body returning to itself. Adrian stopped on the stairs. He raised his hands, calmly, like an innocent man interrupted while becoming someone else. They found everything. The cameras, the cloned voices, the forged documents, the fake profiles, the shell payments, the other women, some alive, some vanished socially before anyone understood what had happened. Not murdered, Erased by paperwork, passwords, rumors, impersonation, edited images, stolen grief. Adrian Vale was not his name. No one knew his first name with certainty. Every identity he had used belonged partly to someone else, mine included. The case became public for 3 days. Then another scandal replaced it. That is how the world works. It forgets on schedule. I survived. Legally. Physically. But survival is not the same as return. Some memories came back in fragments. My birthday cake. Lena's candy. My father tapping the table twice. Others stayed missing. Empty shelves in a locked room. Sometimes I see a stranger online using a phrase I used to say, and my stomach turns cold. Sometimes my phone buzzes at night, and I wait before looking. I changed my name on some accounts, kept it on others, rebuilt slowly, with paper copies, offline photos, friends who could say, yes, that happened. I was there, because identity is not only what we remember, it is what others refuse to let be stolen. Trust is not a door left open because someone speaks softly. Privacy is not secrecy. It is shelter. An obsession is not love. It is hunger wearing a human face. I used to think memory lived safely inside us. Now I know better. Memory lives everywhere. In phones, in metadata, in old messages, in people who knew us before we learned to protect ourselves. And if someone studies those pieces long enough, they may not become you, but they can make the world hesitate. They can make you hesitate. And sometimes, that hesitation is where disappearance begins.